Hello everyone, this is Jess. It has been a while since I posted, and there are also a little bit of difference in my fountain pen lineup. Just to be brief, I did have gotten a few new pens, and I also sold a couple. Because I realized I'm more into some specialty nib recently, which are slightly different than the standard round tip that creates a very uniform line in different directions. So I figured today I want to talk a little bit about what those pens looks like, and why they're like how they look like when writing. So I think some of the most common nib that's not like your standard round tip are what they called a stub nib. I don't think it's rare at all. It's a I think a lot of manufacturer has that option. I think these are some of the more so the pilot Preras I have here have what they call the cursive medium nib. So I don't know the exact measurement. So basically the nib width here in this direction is not that big, but it does create some very interesting variation in line width. So here I'm just gonna do a very simple writing sample. So the pen is Pilot Prera, specifically the clear one, Iro-Ai, and the nib size is called the cursive medium. And the ink I have here is the Pilot Iroshizuku in Yama-budo. So it's a purpley burgundy wine color, I guess. Wine color, yeah. And so in general, the a stub nib will give you a slightly thicker horizontal line but a thinner vertical line. That's kind of what creates the variation in the nib. And I also have the Lendon Penco fountain pen that fitted with a Bock stub nib. I think this, I'm not sure what the line width of this is, but this is also a stub nib which I enjoy quite a bit. By the way, I think recently Lendon Penco has quite a few of new fountain pen listed on their website. So if you're interested in their very elaborate either like the turned acrylic fountain pen, or some of the I think they also have ebonite pen this time. So if you're interested, you may check it out. And they also have different variety of nib size and nib size and grind this time. Yeah, there are actually quite a few I'm so interested in, but like I said, I really need to find some colorway or like pen that really stands out in my collection. So the ink is the Wearingeul, the Great Sage, Heaven's Equal. So the Monkey King. I still have this in my pen. It didn't really dry up, although it's a very highly shimmer ink with a red color and gold sheen. Yeah. And again, and this is also another stub nib I have been inked up for quite some time. This is probably a 1.1 millimeter stub. This is the Narwhal. I think that's how they spell their name. Yeah, this is the Nar Original Plus. I think when I first got this pen, I didn't really know that how easy this will be to clean this pen. But since I don't really write with this pen too much other than write some titles, I was not really thinking about how difficult it is to write or like how to clean this kind of vacuum filler. But if you can see, I think this stuff is definitely thicker than the Pilot medium, cursive medium. It might also be thicker than the Bock stub nib I have in the Lendon Penco fountain pen. Yeah, but I do really enjoy this pen and the ink combination, and the colors. The ink is from Colorverse. They are Blue Dragon ink with gold, glistening gold. So if I can, like, I guess, lift it up, and they can create quite some thin vertical lines. Yeah, so there is also something that's kind of similar to a stub nib, but this is what they call this is a Pelikan steel nib pen, and this nib is called italic broad or oblique broad. So I think probably there's a little bit of cut this way instead of a completely flat edge. But in writing, it doesn't really feel too different or hard to control. But as long as I find a steady way to hold this pen, it kind of create some interesting line widths. And the ink I put in here is the Terra. Yeah, this is definitely an ink I tried it in a lot of different pens, but I figured since this ink may not be the most what's that word? The most fluid or the wettest ink, so giving it a slightly thicker or stub nib actually show up way better. Oh, I guess you can create both vertical and horizontal thicker line, and if you lift the pen up. Yeah, this is kind of what the line variation came from to write with pen. So these are kind of all of the so-called stub or stub adjacent nibs I have currently. There are also some of the more commonly known specialty nib I can find on the market. The next category is considered a more flex nib, or for this is my Pilot 742. Yes, my Pilot custom 742. So this nib is supposed to be soft, which means you can actually just push the pen a little bit harder to get a little bit of variation. But this is not a pen that gonna just create a super wide line to press when you press it down. So that's the kind of line width I'm able to get from this pen. And this is also a soft fine nib. So if not giving too much pressure, it can create very skinny lines. So I think for this kind of flex nib or soft nib, there are also quite some variations and products that are available on the market. So this is from Pilot, and it's considered a soft nib. Oh, I'm back. So sorry, there is a package delivered. So I think the other very popular flex nib from Pilot is their Falcon pen. I don't have it currently, but this is something I find is kind of interesting that I still can use it as a daily pen without just think about too much about the flex. But this pen is something new I got from the Fountain Pen Revolution. So they sorry, this pen has a very interesting ultra flex nib. And I believe on their website you can see this nib. I have their number 6 ultra flex nib. They may have a different size pen as well, different size nib. So basically this pen actually flex quite a bit, and it can give out very wide line variation. Let me see if I can write it slightly more interesting, I guess. Yeah, so this is it almost, I don't have a calligraphy pen, but it's almost feel like a calligraphy pen. When writing, you try to flex it as much as you can. And then the ink I have here is the Sailor Manyo and Nadeshiko, maybe. It's this is not an ink I use too much, and I first used this pen with some of my more standard ink, and I figured, well, since I do have the manual ink, which will benefit a lot with a wet pen or a very thick line, I will just test out in this pen. It actually works pretty well. Although the ink is slightly drier, sometimes the feed doesn't really catch up with the nib. But if I write it slower, yeah, it does flex quite a bit. I don't know like how far it can go without like break the pen, but it can go pretty far. I think if you're very interested in affordable flex nib, I do believe the pens that are with Jovo nib, some of the Estinburg or even I think some of the Leonardo pens would have Jovo flex nib as well, but those are slightly more pricey. I think this pen is on the more affordable side. If you follow their deal, it could be around $30 to $50, but the flex nib itself has some additional cost. One thing I don't really like about this pen is I think they also mentioned on their website like this converter or the cartridge leaks quite like significantly. They sell the silicone grease that you can apply on the thread of the converter, but it's not the most convenient. But since this is a number 6 nib, I'm wondering if I can get this nib fit on my other pens, I haven't tried any of those, but I'm also not bringing this pen anywhere. I just leave it on my desk to grab whenever I need to just do a little bit of fun calligraphy practice. But this nib is quite interesting that I'm able to get and test it out. Yeah. So these are what I consider that another category, which is kind of like a flexible nib. There's a few other pens I find interesting. So their nibs are not the most standard, but those are also some of the samples of different nib grind I was able to find. So this is a PenBBS pen with their blade nib. So if you can see, this has a little bit of a tilt at the tip of the nib. So this is also a fine. Yeah, the pen itself is a cartridge converter pen, and it is there 480. And the ink I put in here is the Wearingeul I'm a Cat. So I don't think this nib is what give you the most like significant obvious line variation, but it does look slightly different from your typical round tipped nibs. So if you lay down, it kind of gives you a little bit of line variation. If you lay down, and maybe if you go higher, it could look slightly thinner. So it's kind of an interesting nib grind. And I really haven't delved very deep into the different nib options that are provided by PenBBS, but I do believe they have quite a bit of their so-called blade nib, which is also, I think in Japanese pen is called naginata nibs. So basically it's the blade, their warrior blade. And they have so many variations, and probably different company and different manufacturer will, or different like a nib mister will have their different grind type. And this is a long blade from Hongdian. I think this is kind of like the more typical naginata nib or long blade nib that provided by a lot of Chinese fountain pen companies, which is I think it's kind of like the opposite of a stub. So let me write this down first. So the ink I'm using here is also a Sailor Manyo ink. And this is the haha. This so if I write it out like this. So this one will give you a slightly thicker horizontal line, but thinner vertical line. So compared to a stub, I don't know if that's the same or not, but that's kind of what it is. That the kind of the line variation it gets. I'm still trying to figure out why this is considered a more popular pen nib type, especially for to write in Chinese or other like East Asian fonts. Or let me see if I can write something in Chinese, if that make a difference. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm also still trying to learn how to use these different nib types, and to compare this with a stub. That's what a stub looks like. Yeah, it does definitely. These pen just make the writing more interesting, and that's also the reason why I currently really like to use fountain pens. But because if you're only creating a very uniform line width, it's pretty much can be done in any kind of pen, including your regular gel pens and others. But fountain pen, just with the nib, different nib variations, they will look different. The last one I have right here is also a kind of commonly seen one. This is a long pen compared to maybe a Pelikan 200. Yeah, this is a super long pen. So this pen is the Sailor Fude, Fude the Manny. So basically, this is a Fude nib, and this is the very interesting nib type that I have seen since I was very little when I first started to learn fountain pens, and this is definitely the kind of pens that I will never get close to because it's just so hard to use. And so the idea of a Fude nib is supposedly will create a thick line as a brush, as a brush tip. But it definitely requires a lot of practice to get to the right angle. And the ink I have in here is just their the Sailor Souboku. So it's their blue gray ink. And so for line width, I think if I lie this down very low, it will give a very thick brush-like stroke. But if you lift it up, it will write very skinny, just like your normal fine nib. So that's the interesting part of a nib like this. So people who are very fluent or like very familiar with this nib will able to adjust your line width by just, giving the pen different angles, which I am definitely want to learn and use. Yeah, so basically, so these are the pens I have that I consider have some very interesting nib grind. There are other pen nib grinds. One thing I noticed, I was trying to see in some of the Sailor pens, they have a nib type that called Weaverly. I'm wondering if that's kind of similar with this PenBBS that's kind of tilted up. There are also some other types, but I would assume those are just some variation of size and differences between the width and the depth of the tip of the nib. Yeah, so if you find those things interesting or you have any recommendations for me, feel free to leave some comments. And also, if you have any experience with the fountain pen revolution pen, the nib that can be fit to some other pens, please let me know. I haven't tried. I'm assuming I may able to get this on the Jinhao 100. I haven't tested out yet, but I will see if I can get it on there. And also, I noticed that this feed looks quite interesting, and I'm assuming for a pen that's supposedly able to just give out a lot of ink at one time, the feed probably contributes as well. So I will see if I can fit the nib and feed to a different pen to use, given that the converter is just not the most ideal. But other than that, thank you for checking out my video. Yeah, that's it. Hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.